Imagine, at a royal feast, a trusted general raises his cup and then learns the grim truth. The meal on his plate is the flesh of his own son. From that one monstrous act of revenge, history was changed forever. The child the king once marked for death would survive. He would rise from a shepherd to a conqueror, forging the first great empire the world had ever seen. From a prophecy that foretold his doom to the bloody battles that built his kingdom. This is the story of Cyrus the Great, a ruler remembered as a liberator, yet born from prophecy, betrayal, and blood. The crucial kingdom of Anshan was ruled by the Achaemenid dynasty. Its king, Cambyses I, made a bold move. He married Princess Mandane, the daughter of Astyages. This was no fairy tale romance. It was a political trap. Astyages was haunted by a terrifying prophecy, a vision of a child born to Mandane, who would one day rise up and consume his throne. In his fear, Astyages saw not a grandson, but a threat to his power, a prophecy so terrifying that he ordered the child to be killed. Astyages' most trusted general, Harpagus, was given the dark task, infanticide. But Harpagus, a man with a conscience, could not bring himself to do it. Instead, he handed the infant to a shepherd, Mithridates, with secret orders to abandon the child in the wild mountains. By a twist of fate, Mithridates' own wife had just given birth to a stillborn baby. Still overcoming with grief, they made a desperate choice. They swapped the babies, leaving their own child on the mountainside and raising the future king as their own. Cyrus grew up in the rugged simplicity of a shepherd's life, unaware of the royal blood that flowed in his veins, as mentioned by Herodotus in his accounts. But fate, it seemed, had other plans for the boy. By the time he was 10, the boy everyone knew as Agridates already acted like a leader. One day, while playing a game of king and court with the other boys, he brutally punished a boy who disobeyed him. That boy happened to be the son of a powerful Median noble, and the matter quickly reached King Astyages. Was this just a game, or was the prophecy already beginning to unfold? The king called Mithridates and the child to his court. The moment the boy stepped into the hall, Astyages felt a shock. The features, the presence, it was like looking at his own blood. After questioning, the truth was revealed. This was his grandson, the very child he had once ordered to be killed. To stop a prophecy, advisors assured him the danger had passed. The prophecy had played out in nothing more than a child's game. Convinced, Astyages sent the boy back to his real parents in Persia, unknowingly sending him toward the very future that the king feared. But Astyages' rage did not fade. Instead, it turned toward Harpagus, who had failed to carry out the order. In an act of cruel revenge, Astyages had Harpagus' 13-year-old son butchered, cooked, and secretly served to him at a royal feast. When the meal was over, Astyages revealed what Harpagus had eaten, showing him the boy's head and arms. Could you sit and finish your meal, knowing your own child was the main course? Harpagus did not cry out or lose control. He simply said, "As my king wishes." But in that silent moment, his heart filled with hatred that would one day help bring down the Median Empire. Years later, after the death of his father, Cyrus II had become king of Persia, but he resented being under the rule of his grandfather. Astyages had once allowed his daughter to marry the king of Anshan, only because he believed that Achaemenids were too insignificant to ever pose a threat. This insult was the final straw. Harpagus, who had been secretly planning his revenge, used the moment to ignite a full-scale rebellion. He secretly sent word to Cyrus, urging him to rise against Media. In a twist of fate, Astyages ordered Harpagus to lead troops to crush the uprising, not knowing his general was the one who had helped to start it. But Harpagus betrayed the king and joined Cyrus's forces. After years of brutal conflict, Cyrus defeated Astyages and took control of Media. He didn't just conquer it, he united it with Persia, creating the foundation for the vast Achaemenid Empire. Cyrus's ambition knew no bounds. His next target was the powerful Lydian Empire, a kingdom of legendary wealth ruled by King Croesus. For over a century, a treaty between Media and Lydia had kept the peace between them. But with the fall of Astyages, that treaty meant nothing. Croesus saw an opportunity to expand his territory, but Cyrus saw something else, a worthy opponent. Before marching to war, Croesus consulted the oracle of Delphi, who famously replied, "A great empire will be wiped out." Confident in his own strength, he assumed it would be the Persian Empire. This fateful error led to the Battle of Betrayal in 547 BC, a brutal but indecisive conflict. Believing the war was over for the winter, Croesus retreated to his capital, Sardis, to wait for reinforcements from his allies, Sparta, Egypt, and Babylon. But Cyrus did the unexpected. He pressed his advantage, leading his army directly to Sardis. It was Cyrus's brilliant advisor, Harpagus, who offered a crucial piece of tactical advice. The Lydian army was feared for its powerful cavalry, but Harpagus knew their weakness. Horses are terrified of camels. Following his advice, Cyrus's troops used camels to panic the Lydian cavalry, throwing their lines into chaos. After a brief 14-day siege, Lydia fell. The fate of Croesus remains a subject of historical debate. Some accounts claim he was burned alive, while others suggest he was spared and made an advisor to Cyrus. The conquest of Lydia did more than just expand Cyrus's borders. It poured unimaginable wealth into the Persian treasury. These vast reserves of gold allowed the Achaemenid Empire to introduce gold as its primary currency. With his mind set on building his new capital, Pasargadae, Cyrus ordered a Lydian man named Pactyes to bring the fortune to Persia. But Pactyes saw an opportunity for rebellion. He used the gold to hire mercenaries and began a revolt, besieging the Persian garrison in Lydia's capital. The king ordered his general to crush the rebellion and bring Pactyes back alive. The Lydian traitor, unable to face the king of Persia, fled from city to city. He was eventually captured and handed over to Cyrus. Pactyes' real motive remains a mystery. Was it greed or a last desperate act of patriotism? Cyrus's ambition now targeted the Neo-Babylonian Empire, ruled by the tyrant Nabonidus, who abandoned his people, disrespected ancient religious traditions, and even ignored the great New Year festival of Marduk, causing widespread dissatisfaction. With Nabonidus away, his son Belshazzar governed Babylon. Cyrus, with his vast intelligence network, saw an opportunity not just to conquer, but to be a liberator, promising to restore the god Marduk to his rightful place. Was this clever propaganda or genuine belief? In 540 BC, Cyrus's army marched south, seizing the strategic Babylonian territory of Elam and forcing Nabonidus' return. A year later, as Cyrus's forces advanced toward Babylon, they were blocked by the Tigris River near the city of Opis. This delay gave Nabonidus time to assemble a massive army. But while Cyrus pressed forward, Nabonidus stayed in the city of Sippar, leaving his general, Gubaru, to fight. The Battle of Opis was a decisive victory for Cyrus. Gubaru surrendered, and recognizing his talent, Cyrus integrated him into the Persian command. Cyrus then approached Babylon, a fortress of legendary defenses. 30-foot thick walls stretched for miles, and the great Euphrates River flowed through its heart. A direct assault? Suicide. Cyrus devised a daring plan with his advisors. He split his army in two, positioning one half upstream where the river entered the city and the other downstream where it exited. He ordered channels to be dug, diverting the mighty Euphrates. Slowly, the water level dropped. The river that had once been 2 men deep was now only waist deep. The impossible became possible. On the night of a great festival, Cyrus's troops, led by the turncoat Gubaru, waded through the shallow riverbed. The guards, overconfident, dulled by drink, never saw them coming. By daybreak, Babylon was in Persian hands. The crown prince, Belshazzar, was dead, and the last independent king of Babylon had fallen. Cyrus the Great entered Babylon as a liberator, not a conqueror. His famous decree, recorded on the Cyrus Cylinder, was a policy of tolerance that freed the exiled Jews and allowed them to return home and rebuild their temples. This act earned him the title of Messiah in the Hebrew Bible, making him the only non-Jew to receive it. This liberation was crucial for the development of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Cyrus was also an administrative genius. He governed his vast empire with a revolutionary system of satrapies, a model later adopted by Alexander the Great. To combat corruption, he created the King's Eyes and Ears, royal inspectors who ensured loyalty. He He earned the loyalty of his subjects through respect, allowing them to keep their own religions and customs. By 530 BC, beyond the Oxus River, Cyrus the Great met his final challenge against the nomadic Massagetæ, led by Queen Tomyris. She rejected Cyrus's marriage proposal, seeing it as a play for conquest, and challenged him to fight. Cyrus crossed the river and set a trap. The Persians abandoned their camp, leaving it filled with treasure. When a third of the Massagetæ army, led by Tomyris' son, became intoxicated celebrating, they were easily captured. In shame, the queen's son took his own life. The news of her son's death shattered Tomyris. She swore to drown Cyrus in blood. When the armies clashed, the Massagetæ's heavy bronze armor and axes shattered the Persians. The great king, Cyrus, was killed. Whether it was on the battlefield or from his wounds, no one can say for sure. In an act of vengeful rage, Tomyris severed his head and plunged it into a wineskin of human blood. His remains were returned to his capital, Pasargadae, where his tomb remains a symbol of his ideals built on respect, tolerance, and justice. After Cyrus's death, the throne passed to his son, Cambyses II. The story of the new king is a fascinating contrast to his father's. To see what happens next, including his conquest of Egypt, hit like button and subscribe.